Joe is the kind of partner that I dream of because he's a great human being and a wonderful entrepreneur.
Well, you better get that out. Gotta get a little excited here. Get the monster flowing through the veins here. Where's my green M&Ms? Okay. Yeah. So which one are we actually recording on? Bad guys, evil villains, arch enemies. Most of us, if we're being honest, have had at least one person in our lives that has taken great pleasure in our misfortune and caused us pain for no apparent reason. Picked on us because of something that we could not control. Someone who made us feel small, someone whose own self-worth was only increased because they caused ours to decrease. Someone who seemingly existed for no reason other than to see us in agony. For me, that person was Roger. I met Roger on my first day of 7th grade when he pushed me down and stole one of my shoes in front of a huge group of laughing kids. See, I grew up pretty poor, and my secondhand shoes were worn to the point where the sole on one of them was starting to flap when I walked. And Roger thought that it would be hilarious to use that shoe as a puppet and have it make fun of me as I tried to get up and he kept shoving me down. Now, just so that you have some context and I don't seem like a total wimp, our middle school was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And the rumor was that Roger had failed so many times that by the time he was in 9th grade, he could legally get married in most states. As a matter of fact, he looms so big in my memory that I'm pretty sure that he was 6.5 feet tall, had a full beard, face piercings, and a neck tattoo. On that very first day of my new adventure at a completely foreign school, this bully had made up his mind that I was going to be the whipping boy for the entire year. Wedgies, name calling, stealing lunch money, bathroom doors held shut so that I'd be late for class, pudding and mashed potatoes smeared on my lockers, and physical threats. These all became commonplace until one day I just could not take it anymore. And I did the unthinkable. I told a teacher. This did not go well for me. Roger got 3 days of after-school detention, and he vowed that he was going to make me pay. He quickly spread word that he was going to beat me up at the flagpole after school, and that if I didn't show up, things were going to get much, much worse. As you can imagine, I felt sick for the entire day. I can still feel the butterflies that I had in my stomach as I walked out the front door, saw this enormous crowd of people that had gathered to witness my death. I looked for support from some of my friends, and I saw them mixed in among the crowd, but none of them dared step in to help, because if they had, they would then be on Roger's target list right next to me. Alone and terrified, my shaking legs carried me out to face a person that had caused me so much anxiety, so much stress, and so much pain in just the first few weeks of the school year. And as soon as I got within arm's length, he punched me square in the chest so hard that it put me to my knees. As I dropped down, he turned around in the crowd and started slapping high fives and laughing with all the people. And I remember kneeling there, feeling the tears of humiliation welling up as I stared at the ground, telling myself, "Don't you cry. Don't you dare cry." And at that moment, with nothing left to lose, I made a decision. Now, I wasn't big and I wasn't strong. I was a little 7th grader with hand-me-down clothes and no one that was going to stick up for me, like no one that was going to come and rescue me. But I wasn't going to live like this. Now, I wish that this was like the movies and I suddenly jumped up and had all these forgotten kung fu skills, or I pulled a Rocky and stood there and went blow for blow with him until he got knocked down and couldn't get up. And then the entire school would lift me up on their shoulders and carry me off, yelling my name, Joe, Joe, Joe. But what really happened was I balled my little 7th grade fist up, and I took the biggest swing that I could possibly manage. And just as he turned back around, that punch I was aiming for his nose hit him square in the throat. His eyes nearly popped out of his head, and he started making these strange gurgling sounds and coughing uncontrollably. His face turned beet red, and it was obvious that he couldn't breathe. He fell on the ground just as a teacher came out of the front door of the school. The whole crowd took off running, except Roger, who was still on the ground struggling to catch his breath, and me, who still had my little hand curled in a fist. Now, before you jump to any conclusions, no, I didn't collapse his throat and kill him like in the movies. That didn't happen. And as a matter of fact, he was up on his feet much faster than I would have liked. But what did happen that day is that something changed. Roger decided that I was no longer worth messing with, and I had made the decision to never allow another bully to have control over my life. Every one of our companies faces much larger competitors in the marketplace. For some of you, they might be companies like Cornerstone, Geldwin, Anderson, or Pella. For me, they're companies like, well, you guys know who my competition is. They're the ones out there badmouthing me all the time. So how do we stand up to companies that have so many advantages and so many resources? Well, for some inspiration, I want to talk about one of the greatest underdog stories ever told, David versus Goliath. I'm sure that most of you know the story, but just in case, here's a quick rundown of the situation. David was the youngest son of a guy named Jesse, and he served as a shepherd for his father's flock of sheep. His brothers were soldiers in the Israelite army, and they were called to the front lines when the Philistines invaded their territory. When David showed up in the story, the two armies were on opposite sides of a steep valley. Both sides were dug in so well to their fortifications that an attack by either one of them would have caused mass casualties to the attacking army. So they were at this stalemate. And for 40 days, the best soldier from the Philistine army, a giant named Goliath, would come out and insult the Israelite army and tell them if anyone could beat him in a fight, the rest of the army would surrender. This type of winner-take-all battle was not uncommon in situations like this. But this guy was so huge, so formidable, that no one from the Israelite side wanted any part of it. On the fateful date where the story takes place, David was bringing some food to his brothers, and he heard Goliath shout his challenge and these insults. Now, through some pretty amazing salesmanship, he convinced Saul, the king, to let him go out and fight the giant. As he headed out to the battlefield, not wearing any armor and a sword, but only with a simple sling in his hand, he stopped and he picked up 5 stones and he dropped them into his pouch. You guys know how this ends. David took one of the stones, whipped it around his head a couple times, and let loose with the sling. And he took down Goliath with a shot to the forehead. As soon as their champion hit the ground, the Philistine army took off running, and the Israelites overtook them and killed almost all of them. What an amazing, inspiring story for us little guys. And there's so many lessons in that story that I want to highlight, but I want to highlight a few that we can use in our business. Specifically, I want to use this story to talk about the opportunity that social media brings to our organizations. Social media, like the sling and the stone that David used, is the great equalizer when it comes to leveling the marketing playing field between large companies and small companies. We live in a time where money is much less important to get your customers' attention. And let's be honest, getting attention is all that marketing really is. The cost for a 30-second Super Bowl ad was $7 million this year. And that did not include the cost of making the commercial. For easy math, Let's assume that it costs $3 million to shoot and produce any of those commercials, but I'm sure that is a really low estimate. So for a 30-second ad, that costs $10 million. I don't know about you, but flex screen certainly doesn't have that type of budget. Now, I did some research. There were 123 million people that watched the Super Bowl this year. But the estimate is that only about 90 million people watched any given commercial. This takes into account people that didn't watch the whole game, people that went to go to the bathroom or did something else during commercial breaks. So conservative estimates are that every dollar that's spent got the advertisers 9 views. That is not very good ROI. By the way, this is the most talked about commercial from this year's Super Bowl.
I don't think you should do this. Last year she came to my work. Now I gotta show her what I can do.
He's here.
Fleck on the track.
What up, Bronx? For your consideration, here comes the Boston Massacre! The Dunk Kings! Touchdown Tommy on them keys! Player coach.
Got it.
I'm open. And needs no introduction, my partner!
Sometimes it's really hard to be your friend.
You said you were gonna support me?
Don't go away, my heart. Why you dunking me, girl? Why you dunking me?
Dunk King!
My heart.
How do you like them donuts? I'm so sorry.
You had to see it, but I forgive you. Lay us on the track.
Are we gonna be on the album?
We talked about this.
Let's go. You're blinded by them pinstripes.
Wrap it up.
There goes Babe Ruth.
Tom, you can stay.
You remember when I told you I'd do anything for you? This is anything.
Chill. They're naming a drink after us.
So I guarantee that commercial costs a lot more than $3 million to make. Those actors don't get out of bed for less than $1 million each. And it was a 60-second commercial, so double the cost. So that commercial got less than 4 views per dollar. Now, let me show you a couple pieces of marketing that have much better ROI.
Drops fall and the beauty of it all.
This is a teenage girl that only does short, silent makeup tutorials. This is all she does. She makes tens of thousands of dollars from the products that she uses.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
504 million views with that one video. That's just one of her videos. Here's another one. This guy is a chef. That one got 554 million views. He has tons of these. They look very similar. His restaurant exploded. There's a waiting line outside of his restaurant every single day because he makes videos like that. And of course, I guarantee every single one of you guys knows this one.
These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, know the rich men.
Over 1 billion views. 3 videos, all shot on iPhones that had over 2 million views between them. Now, please don't miss this. You do not need a huge marketing budget to get an incredible amount of attention online. When we first started posting on social media, the Flex Screen corporate office was a 12 by 14 storage room that I shared with my part-time salesman and an 18-year-old son of a family friend who needed intern hours for college. We've literally had an IKEA dining table as a shared desk that we would all work from. Nicholas, who was our intern at the time, borrowed his mom's camera and we nailed up a sheet as a backdrop across the wall of the office. Using that borrowed camera, my iPhone, and an old Mac computer, we started making funny and sometimes completely crazy videos about flex screen and posted them all over social media. As we put out more and more content, window dealers and homeowners started asking for our product and sales started going up and up. Almost by accident, we found out a secret that not a lot of smaller companies want to admit. Marketing and branding works. Not only does marketing and branding work, but I am convinced that it is essential for your business's long-term survival. We used what we had and we made videos that anyone can make. Nothing complex, nothing heavily edited. Videos of me hitting our screens with hammers, flexing our screens over and over again, throwing them off of buildings, running them over with cars, me telling the flex screen story, us dancing and having fun. Videos that made fun of me and videos of me sharing insights into my life and journey. And it worked. Our videos started getting a lot of likes and shares, and some of them even went viral, getting millions and millions of views. Here's one that got over 60 million views.
Do you not realize that it hurts me when I see you go off? You have the time of your life, only when I'm not around.
Let me say that again. That video got 60 million views, and every day it continues to go up. Your brand isn't your logo or your business cards. Your brand is the way that people feel about your company. It's the story that your customers and potential customers tell themselves and other people about your company. It's the gut feeling that they get when they think about you. Did you know that in blind taste tests, most people can't tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi? But I guarantee you will always choose one over the other. You don't choose Pepsi because of the logo. You choose Pepsi because at some point you became loyal to that brand. This isn't accidental. It's a conscious effort made by those businesses to gain your favor. Branding is a practice of positioning a product or service in a particular market. It's the strategic effort to make people feel and connect to your business and give you a competitive edge. When I traded in my stuffy button-up shirt and dress pants for a black t-shirt and a baseball cap, we started giving our company an identity. We gave people someone to root for. We were the little company birthed out of a garage that was taking on an industry that was stuck in old-fashioned ways of doing things. We were the innovators, the problem solvers. We were the fun company, the ones who didn't care what people thought about them. Believe it or not, I had people call me on the phone and come up to me at trade shows and ask me and tell me to stop making stop making a fool out of myself. And I would just laugh. And I said, I got your attention, didn't I? We were putting our message out and people were taking notice. We were cultivating an experience with our company, using our videos and other content, and people were responding. By the way, do you know that FlexScreen is the largest brand online in the entire window and door industry? We're just a little screen company, and we are a bigger brand online than Anderson, Pella, Geldwin combined. What's stopping you from being just as large? It's not your budget. I promise you that. The next point that I want to pull out of the David and Goliath story is that you need to play to your strengths. David didn't come out to battle and go toe-to-toe with the giant. How do you think the story would have ended if he and Goliath just started trading punches? This is completely unrelated. But have any of you guys ever played Who Can Punch the Softest? Show of hands, any of you guys played Who Can Punch the Softest? Man, some of you did not have big brothers. If you have never played the game before, find someone who raised their hand or nodded their head like this when I was saying it, and ask them to play the game during the break. The good news is you get to go first. So just a little hint, you get to go first. So speaking of big brothers, It's a joke. You guys, seriously, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, find somebody who has played it before. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of big brothers, did you know that David was the least among his 8 brothers? As a matter of fact, when a call went out to his father to bring his boys to see if one of them could possibly be the next king, his dad didn't even bring him. That's how small and insignificant he was. He was a shepherd, not a warrior. Now, Goliath was 9 feet tall, and he was trained to be a killer from the time that he could walk. He was skilled at killing men in battle, and he was so intimidating that no one in the Israelite army would come out to face him. Fighting him on his terms would have meant certain death for Goliath. But David had a strength that Goliath didn't consider. Through his time as a shepherd, he had mastered the art of the sling. David played to his strengths, and it allowed him to succeed in a fight that he should never have won. So, as a smaller manufacturer than some of your competitors, what might be some of your strengths? I can't really answer that for you, but I can share some of the strengths that we've identified within the FlexScreen organization. I'm a pretty decent speaker, and I get to ask to speak at events. Like, I love how when I say I'm a pretty decent speaker, and I start stuttering. Anyway, I'm a pretty decent speaker, and I get asked to speak at events like this and other corporate functions, as well as colleges and high schools. And we record these speeches, and we cut them up into small pieces, and we put them out on social media. I've also had a lot of leadership training in my past. So we do podcasts and other content around leadership advice and lessons. We have a cool story. Everyone loves the American dream of inventing something in their garage and making a business out of it. So we post a lot about that experience. We have a young, sometimes goofy members of our staff that we allow to do crazy things with our product, and we record and post those. I'm also a tech nerd, and we're always willing to try new products. And this is me on the way down to this trip, by the way. That's my wife and daughter. We did a little bit of Disney beforehand. But we're always willing to try new products and find ways to enhance the experience that people have with our brand. So this is a great example. So that is go back to the picture there real quick. Sorry. That's an Apple Vision Pro. I don't know if any of you guys have messed around with them or not, but we feel that this is the future of media consumption as well as computing. We really do. If you've ever tried one, I guarantee you that you will feel the same way. As a matter of fact, we're going to show a video here, but we actually have one out here that during the break, you guys can go over and try and see some of the things that we're creating for the Apple Vision Pro around FlexScreen. But I want to show you a quick vision. This is the view through the Apple Vision Pro. You can see there's our website up. I kind of get that out of the way there. But one of the amazing things that you can do with the Apple Vision Pro is that you can do what's called immersive video. So it essentially puts you into the environment of where it's recorded. So this is just a quick video that we shot for this. And this is our new automated line. And it's very hard to completely understand what this is like. But one of the things about FlexScreen is we need to get them into our plant to experience what this line is like. Because when we say a finished screen comes off every 13 seconds, people go, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. But to experience it and see a finished screen coming off every 13 seconds, it's a whole different thing. As a matter of fact, we're at about 99% of companies that come in to do a tour of people that actually convert over to FlexScreen. That's how powerful a tour is at FlexScreen. But not everybody can make it in. With a Vision Pro, you can actually be there, and we can actually do live tours, completely immersive. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw that. One of my favorite things about the line is our operators don't have to actually pull the screen down off of that overhead conveyor. They simply stick their hand out and it falls in. Completely unrelated. It's just one of my favorite things about our line. But we have a bunch of tech nerds. That's one of our strengths. So we use that during our, as we talk about social media. So for you, maybe your strength is that you're a smaller, more personal company than the faceless entities that you compete with. And you can highlight that pretty easily online. Here's a social media clip that one of our interns created in about 2 minutes using one of my favorite clips from The Office.
We can offer our biggest discounts on 30% recycled and ultra premium laser.
Okay, your phone. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Let me talk to you about a few of the other things we can offer. Namely, we know the tax season's coming up, so by April 1st, we can have you fully stocked.
1.
We have discount prices on ink cartridges.
3.
And also any forms that you're gonna need.
7.
We can custom make them.
Well, I appreciate what you guys are saying, but it makes more fiscal sense to go with one of the big guys.
Sure. That's true. We can't compete with their prices. But let me ask you something. How important to you is customer service?
It's very.
Please keep holding. Your call is very important to us.
It's one of the big guys. Been on hold this whole time.
And this is Dunder Mifflin.
Dunder Mifflin Customer Service, it's Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, it's Jim.
Oh my God, Jim, how are you? I wanted to tell you.
Here's my card. It's got my cell number, my pager number, my home number, and my other pager number. I never take vacations, I never get sick, and I don't celebrate any major holidays.
All right, I get it. We got a deal.
2 minutes to make that, guys. It is not difficult to put stuff out on social media. So you can give your potential customers a glimpse behind the scenes of what it's like working within your organization, and it's like what it's like working with your organization. Do you have somebody on your staff that has a big personality? That person can be one of your strengths. Maybe one of your strengths is customer loyalty. Have someone from your team do a video testimonial with your customers. It's so much easier to have your customer sell your company for you. Here's a testimonial that we did with one of our licensees.
I've been with HomeGuard for 15, going on 16 years. We're a unique company, first of all. We don't just manufacture one product. Most of our competitors manufacture windows, they manufacture doors. Anything that's going to make your house more energy efficient. On the outside of the wall of your house, we manufacture that here at HomeGuard.
FlexScreen has been an incredible partner with us. They're a different company, and I wholeheartedly mean that. They're a company that really cares about the product they're putting out, but more than that, they really care about the people they're working with.
So the reason we brought it in, the reason we're using FlexScreen on all of our windows now is because it makes us a unique company up front. It provides us with a different feature up front that our customers love to share and introduce to consumers who have not seen it yet. But then on the back end, it reduces service, which helps keep our costs down.
If you're not innovating, if you're not moving forward, if you're not thinking of new ways to do things and ways to improve your product, you're not doing what your customer needs from you. And FlexScreen is clearly a innovative product that fits right into how we think and how we do things. And I've got no reason to believe that we're not going to be wildly successful with this to a point where people will be looking at us to buy windows, not knowing anything about the windows, but certainly wanting the FlexScreen.
That type of video can be shot on an iPhone and edited with some simple apps. It is really not that difficult. Now, the next thing I want to pull from the David and Goliath story is a detail that's usually overlooked. When David headed out to face Goliath, he stopped and picked up 5 stones. And there's a lot of theories about why he did this, but here's what I think. He knew that not every shot that you take hits the mark. So our next point is commit to being consistent. When we started making content, we did a ton of research, took online classes, read articles, watched YouTube videos. We consumed anything that could help educate us in this new direction that we were going. And this is the first thing that we learned, is that social media is a wide net, and not every post gets the attention that we are hoping to get. But that doesn't mean that you should stop. The platform that we concentrate on most is LinkedIn, and I hear this at least once a week. Man, Joe, you're all over my LinkedIn feed. Yes, it's on purpose. Because of the direction that we went with our branding, we use my profile for most of the more creative elements. And I think I have a little over 100,000 connections and followers at this point. We got those followers one post after another post, one at a time. Of course, we use Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as well, but it doesn't really matter which platform you use. Consistency is key. By the way, a Facebook page where your business only posted once or twice 5 years ago is actually worse than not having a page at all. A poorly managed digital presence actually degrades consumer confidence when someone is deciding whether they should trust your company or not. Be consistent. Post every day if you can, but at least 2 or 3 times a week minimum. Commit to consistency. The second thing that we learned is something that we talk about all the time internally. Be the show, not the commercial. And here is how you do it. Entertain, educate, inspire, and engage. Digital marketing branding is all about attention. Social media is noisy, and you have to find a way to fight through that noise. Entertain. Well, this seems pretty self-explanatory, but here's something to think about. You should be sharing content that caters to the interests and attitudes of your potential customers and shows that you understand where they're coming from. At FlexScreen, we decided to use humor, self-deprecation, and an insight into my personal life and journey to do this. How you best entertain your audience will be an ongoing process, and you should be constantly trying new things. Educate. I'm sorry to tell you this, but pictures of the jobs that you or your customers have done are not going to get a lot of attention. But what if you and your dealers became the local experts within your field? Here's a simple video idea that one of your team can do that will set you up as the company that a potential customer thinks of when they need a product that you provide. Today, I'm here with XYZ Remodeling, who's one of your customers, and Mrs. Jones, who called them up because she was feeling drafts around her windows and her heating bills are through the roof. It only took us a few minutes to find the problem. Let me show you. Then you show them the problem. And you finish up with, to fix this problem, the best course of action was to replace the old windows that were costing her so much money. Check back tomorrow to see the progress as the professional installers get to work. Then you and XYZ Remodeling walk them through the entire job. On the last day, you ask Mrs. Jones to do a testimonial for XYZ Remodeling, saying, I could not be happier with XYZ Remodeling. They did a fantastic job and my house will be so much warmer this winter. Then you show the before and after pictures and you tag Mrs. Jones and ask her to share the posts. If you and your customers do this just a couple times a month, you'll have your customers and your potential customers will have no choice but to take notice because your company will be seen as the experts in the market. And these types of videos are amazing for SEO. Show people how to fix things themselves. Put out tutorials and write blogs about window and door repair and replacement. Guess what? Most people won't put out the effort to repair things themselves, but they will call you or your customers to do it because you have gotten them to trust your expertise. Inspire. Most people think that this is much more complex than it is. The goal here is simple. Make people feel something or inspire them to take action. I have a passion for helping people. So we started a podcast called Dare to Be Different, which is all about helping people live an extraordinary life. Now, I'm not saying that you have to start a podcast or anything like that, but you can share things that inspire you in the hope of inspiring others. Engage. Someone on your team needs to reply to every comment on every post that you put out, and the goal is to keep the conversation going. The more comments on the post, the higher you will rank on the algorithms on every social media platform. So when someone says, that looks great, the reply shouldn't be, thanks. You should reply back with, thank you so much. We really appreciate your kind words. We were blown away by how the new black windows contrasted with the white siding. What do you think? You want to keep the conversation going with open-ended questions. More times than not, people feel obligated to reply back and answer. All right, the last tip here, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. Last tip, don't be afraid. It's a little unnerving to put yourself out there, but it gets easier and easier the more that you do it. And it's worth it. When you invent something that solves a common problem, the very first thing that someone says after they see a demonstration is, "You should go on Shark Tank." I heard that comment so much that when I received this strange email out of the blue, I thought it was a joke. The email simply said that this person was one of the casting producers for a TV show, and that they saw the videos that we had posted on social media, and they wanted to discuss having me on the show. Of course, because I have so many immature friends in my life, and I wasn't going to fall for one of their traps, I did what any responsible adult would do. I ignored the email and I forgot about it. 2 days later, a voicemail came through with a similar message. When we looked up the number online, we found that it belonged to Sony Pictures. At that point, 2 thoughts went through my mind. The first was, man, someone was really pulling out all the stops for this practical joke. And the second was, holy cow, maybe someone might actually want to put flex screen on TV. The rest, as they say, is history. We didn't have a big studio or expensive equipment or an enormous budget, but not being afraid and going all in on social media and branding was the difference between us struggling with getting our message out and us getting asked to appear not once, but twice on Shark Tank. And us being well on our way to the goal that Lori so beautifully laid out in our second appearance on the show. Our goal with flex screen is to replace the window screen industry completely. Flex screen is living proof that social media works. Just remember these tips. Play to your strengths. Commit to being consistent. Be the show, not the commercial. And don't be afraid. If your team uses these as a starting point, you'll be well on your way to knocking out that giant that is standing between you and your company's goals.